welcome to Karina Osborne, Reiki practitioner. I am Karina Osborne. This is Friday, April 19th, and I am coming live with you over the pink full moon. Today, I have my featured femme, Pati Diaz from Blue Moon Manifestations. I got to know Pati over a kind of business group that we were involved in, and she just really spoke to my heart with her authenticity, and just she was so kind, and that just really radiates from her. So I want to thank and welcome Pati. Welcome.
Hi, Karina. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and having me here.
Oh, no problem. It is a joy, and I'm glad that we could sync up our calendars, because you are coming live from Los Angeles. So,
I am, yeah.
And I love it. This is one of my joys of working and doing this. So, Pati, let's just get right into the thick of it, and you can tell us a little bit about, or tell us all of your journey.
Okay, so it's I'll give the condensed version, which was what got me here, which is I think the important part. The overarching theme of my life up until about probably 5 or 6 years ago ish, let's say, I had been doing things, living my life according to, what what most people or society thought I should do. Like, you should go to college, you should plan this, you should plan this future and do this and follow this expected path of things. And I did it because that's what you were expected to do. But especially in looking back, I always had this underlying energy, like, that's why I'm doing it, because I'm expected to do it, not because I want to do it. Along the way, I also rebelled. Like, I would go to college. I started college, great, but then I stopped. I dropped out and I got married when I was 18. So it was like totally throwing a curveball, but still, not doing what I truly wanted to do. So I kept following this path, and about 5 or 6 years ago-ish, I finally found myself in a place that was in an unhealthy relationship. I was doing a job I enjoyed, but I couldn't support myself. So I felt stuck then to stay in that relationship, and kind of like, well, I've made my bed. What am I going to do now? And just, I was settling for being treated like I did not deserve to be treated. I knew that, and being spoken to in ways that were not helpful, not positive. And I got to a point where I thought I was able to get away from that for a short term because of a family reunion. And so I was at this family reunion, and I felt so good, right? Being with my family and away from all that negativity and crap and those awful feelings of being separated from my family. And I was laying on the couch, and I heard this voice in my head, clear as a bell, that says, "You have to come home." And so it was like, well, that moment changed it. Even though I knew it was going to be a crap year or a crap process to get away from that, my focus shifted, and it's like, what can I do to get back home? Because that's what I need to do. So I started, selling my furniture, planning things. I couldn't sell my house because I had to have things done to it. So I made arrangements to rent it until after I left, until I could sell it. And I did get away from that relationship. And that was really the hardest part, because then all the negativity coming at me, how selfish I was, how, ungrateful, and anything that could be thrown at me was thrown at me. And it was just like, nope, it sucks. I don't like experiencing this, but I'm headed back home. And the culmination was, I sold my furniture. I've saved all this money that I would use, and I got paid out of my job, like the vacation and all that stuff pay. So that's the money I used to move back to California. And my dad flew out to the airport out there in St. Louis. And I knew that when I headed from my house to go pick up my dad at the airport, I was like, that's it. There's no, my dad, once again, is coming to get me, because that's what my dad always did for me. Whenever I needed to get back home, he'll come and get me. And then I just knew, I was like, I'm going to get my dad. I don't care about all this other crap. And I am headed back home. And it was still hard. I had to get back here and get my feet back under me, get a job, save up to get a car that was functioning well and all that stuff. But it was so worth it, because now I'm like, oh my gosh, I will never again fit into that skin. Once I look back and like getting into that personal development and actually working on myself and working through the crap that kept me in that cycle, I know I will never again fit in that skin, and I'll never put up with that kind of treatment ever again, because I know I don't deserve it. So, and then I had that urge to help people, help women, mostly, not that I discriminate against men, but it's women a lot of the times that settle or get themselves into, or find themselves, I should say, in that type of situation. And that gave me the, I set an intention at the blue moon of last year, the first one, of an alternate source of income that will be the right path for me. And so that's where the idea of blue moon manifestations came from.
I love that. How, knowing that, that's your business name, and, you work a lot with the lunar cycle, but hearing the story behind that just makes that the name of your business so much more powerful, and really truly speaks to the alignment that you were trying to forge for yourself. Mm-hmm. But again, by living authentically, why I love you so much.
Yeah.
that's showing so much, right, of who you are, and I love it. So before we actually get into your business, I just want to talk about how these themes and thoughts, and remember how I said every Friday I seem to pull something from this.
Yeah.
This is how I'm feeling right now, is this, I can't go back. I can't go back in my journey and live in that skin.
Yep.
And, that monkey brain of those selfish thoughts and those negative self thoughts, but that family and love always wins. And I think that's so just amazing that you shared that part of your journey. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, and part of that too, before you, just real quick, one of the things that got me away from family was running away from that, because I felt my mom was running my life, trying to run my life. But being away from my family served its purpose as well, because I realized that she was just giving me the best advice she could. It wasn't resonating with me, but it came from a place of love. And I had to get away from my family, to see that, and then come back to my family and be like, yes, I may not agree with her. She may not understand, but she's not trying to be this, overbearing mom that's running my life. She's helping me the best way she knows how to.
Right, exactly. I think that's such a true point. I feel a lot and I'm generalizing here, but with men, it's probably their fathers that they feel this pull and drive from. And with women, it is that mother, regardless if you actually had your bio mom or someone who kind of stood in as your mom, that is really that I see so much of your potential, and this is where I feel you would thrive. And it's but if you just let me listen to my soul, it'll tell me exactly where I need to go and love me through that. And I'm glad that you two reached a balance there, and you were able to come back and say, look, I had my time away. I can appreciate what you were doing. And now, as an adult, you can appreciate what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's so great. I think it's hard too when you're younger, right? You need that separation for sure.
Yeah, you need some kind of time to figure out what it is you really do want.
Yeah, and who you are.
Here I am.
Yeah. So please let us know all about what Blue Moon Manifestation is, and the services that you offer.
Okay, so ultimately, the bottom line is Blue Moon Manifestations, I am a coach. I'm a life coach, and I call myself a happiness coach because that's kind of the journey that I went through, finding my happiness and living, like you said, living it authentically. being able to disagree with other people, but not get into a conflict or confrontation about it. So I am a coach, a happiness coach. And through that, I include, like working with energy and like with yourself, not because I'm not an energy worker that type of practice, but learning how to acknowledge that and feel your own energy and balance it. And that with like chakras and meditating and incorporating working with the moon, because that's obviously where this came from. So I coach women through that using those practices or those modalities because that's what worked for me and helping me find my life, live my life authentically. And aside from the one-on-one coaching, I do want to work up to like a group coaching program. That's not ready yet, but that's what I want to, so that I can work with more people at once. And here locally, I do periodically do like vision board workshops, which is the very first thing that Blue Moon Manifestations ever did was a vision board workshop, which is great. And then journaling is actually a challenge that I'm starting soon, because I like to let people know different ways of tapping into their intuition, of working through things. And so it's a one-on-one, currently a one-on-one coaching service that will, expand from there.
I love that. And I love the fact that you kind of have a blanket of like life coach, but your ultimate goal isn't to coach someone's life. It's to help them find that happiness in order to live their life like fully alive. And I think that's really important, because so many people hear life coach, and for me at least, that rebellion kind of comes up.
Yes.
But when you think of it as like a happiness coach, it is, in a sense, teaching someone how to live their life through finding happiness. Could you maybe like talk on that a little bit more, or like expand on it? Like what kind of work you guys would do together, or without giving too much of yourself away?
No, that's okay. And that's true. And I think that's because like I had that background of feeling like, someone is overbearing and trying to tell me what to do. I don't want people to come away with that's what I am, because I don't. Everyone, like I had to find my journey and figure it out by myself. I just want to guide people to what will work for them, finding their way. If this doesn't work, fine, get curious. If you don't know what your true joy is right now, let's try and find out what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is, obviously, because that would be, like you said, kind of like instigating that rebellion in someone, like don't tell me what to do. So what it involves is I ask a lot of questions. So I never tell people what to do. I ask a lot of questions to help figure out where they're at currently. And then I give, either suggestions, or why don't you try this? Or have you tried this? Or what do you think will help trigger that in you? Just different ways of approaching it. Because the people that I tend to work with that need that are feeling like I was, like they're feeling stuck, and they're just feeling like, well, here I am, there's no way out. And I just want to help, point out options, that there are ways out. You just need to find what will motivate you, what will reframe your thinking from I have to deal with this crap to I am leaving this crap behind.
Perspective is so key in that kind of journey as well, right? Like you said, you can kind of play, for me at least, like I notice in myself, sometimes I can play the victim and be like, oh, and then, but when I turn it around and say, why is this happening for me, not to me, it really does make a difference. Talk about, because obviously you created your first vision board before you kind of did a workshop. Talk about how that felt to you while you were making that, because I've had the privilege of kind of like seeing the backside a little bit of your business through the business group, and it looks amazing. And I did my own vision board inspired by you.
Yay!
I know how it made me feel, but I think it's really profound to actually put something tangible together that can help with that happiness. So I'd love it if you could talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things that is so cool about vision boards, because when I first heard about it, I just thought it was people pasting pictures on a board and like, okay, what is that going to do? You know, but then I went through the process, and the way I formulated my workshops is actually, first off, it's a self-discovery process. If there's time and the group is small enough, we'll talk it out. Otherwise, I have journal prompts that they can write it out and go through it as need be. But it starts with, you know, if life, and I'm not going to remember the words exactly, but like if life and people's opinions and money were no issue, what would you want to do with your life? So it actually gets you thinking, well, what is possible? Like, separate your mind or your thinking, even if it's just in the process of this class. What would I do if I had the money to do it? What would I do if my mom didn't say I had to go to college and I followed that path? You know, so it gets your mind, it plants that seed as to what is possible. What would I be drawn to? And then it explores that through the pictures. You know, what it's more of a feeling as opposed to looking at the pictures. It's like, if you look at this picture, what does it what wells up inside of you? You know, does it like, oh, I would love to try that, or oh, that scenery, you know, if I could live my life or part of my life in that scenery. So it really starts with removing yourself from your current situation and letting those feelings take over, because then that will motivate you and start changing your thinking.
It reminds me of kind of getting back to like this childlike sense of wonder of what is the world all about, right? And that the magic that it can bring us. So
yeah, exactly.
You can make a new one.
Exactly, because then your mind starts to go places that you wouldn't have thought of.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it really does drive home, like every day when I come downstairs before I make my coffee, it's sitting on a wall that like I have to look at and have to kind of stare at for a while. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's who I want to be today. And, you know, moving forward through that. So I'd love for you to talk about how you do incorporate the moon cycle within your business. And is that part of your journaling as well, or are those kind of like separate?
Well, I incorporate the moon cycle just by encouraging people, or I walk people through setting intentions with the new moon. And that, you know, you can relate that to the vision board if you want, or just to kind of getting out of your current mental situation. And I will recommend journaling to everyone for everything, because that's just like my place to figure anything out. So you can journal, ask yourself questions. What is it that I want? And start journaling on that to find out your intention. So what I like in it is setting an intention is working on the type of person you want to be, not necessarily like getting the house and all that. Because once you start working on yourself and having the right mindset and then doing the things that will attract those things to you, then you can start working on the stuff with more of like a solar goal as opposed to a lunar intention. So the intentions are the type of person you want to become, and start working on that through the lunar cycle. And you know, on my lives and just random places, I will kind of guide people through what moon cycle we're at, what to do at this moon cycle. And then journaling is just something I always interject in pretty much anything I do as an option.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because I know when I get away from my journaling, even if it's just like a quick jaunt in like my agenda of like, this is how my day went, I feel really lost and scattered. Like I almost need those thoughts to come back to and reflect on and be like, oh yeah, that's where I was last week, 2 weeks ago, a month ago. I really I like that you encourage people to use like their words to express and feel what they need to feel. Because we get caught up in here a lot, right? And
yes. Yeah. And when you get really into it, sometimes you go back and read it and you didn't even realize that's what you needed to tell yourself, or you didn't realize that that's what you needed to kind of work through. Because like just the process of writing it out and just letting it flow takes over instead of trying to think of what you need to say to someone.
It's it's so funny because I go to a therapist, surprise. And she had actually said to me, have you been journaling lately? And I was like, no, I haven't. And then I repeated back to her, like, yeah, I miss reading my old journals. And I do, like every month or every week, I kind of go through and read my journal and see what I needed to hear that day. Sometimes like milestones, I'll go back and read from the year previous. And she was like, that never even registered to me to actually go back and read it. And I'm like, well, why are you writing it then?
So yeah.
It is very therapeutic to get it out, but I like what you said about going back and reading that and kind of reaffirming yourself of that is what I needed to hear, and look how far I've come, or I need to continue working on this aspect to make me really happy, right? And I recommend that you do that.
Absolutely.
Encourage that in their business, especially with this kind of growth. So, now you work a muggle job.
I do.
Or a day job, correct?
Yep.
And you also get to, you also are very passionate and put a lot of work into human manifestations. And just, I really love it if you could talk about how you interact with your daily life of, finding balance between those two. Desiree has just popped on and she said, hello. So hello, Desiree.
Hey.
Or Desi, sorry, not Desiree, Desi. Apparently I'm not what you calling it right now. We do very well, but she said hello. So
hello.
If you could talk the business, like you're having to work like real life, and then your business is your real life as well. But I know a lot of women in particularly struggle because, like you said, how, I need this to kind of support myself and allow for my dreams to come true. But, I feel a lot of women struggle with actually going forward with doing their own business because of that. So.
Yeah, definitely. And it took me a while, because Blue Moon Manifestations was born a year ago. And I really feel like I just found my balance in the last, or harmony, at least between the two, in the last 6 months, because I did struggle. It's like, first of all, the job that I have, my muggle day job, so to speak, is very unpredictable because I don't make my own schedule. The work I do is as a claims investigator for injury claims. So I don't work in an office. I work out in the field. Like I'm interviewing people, or I'm going to scene locations, and it's everywhere. And it can be like leaving as early as, 7 a.m, or sometimes being out in the field till 7 or 8 p.m. It's not predictable. So I struggled with, well, how am I going to get this business going? And the reason I wanted to do both was because, like you said, there's the practicality of I need to pay my bills and I need to take care of certain things. But it wasn't feeding my soul. It wasn't giving me joy. It's like, yes, I'm good at it. Yes, I've done this forever, and that's what I know how to do. So then I incorporated the coaching and Blue Moon Manifestations when it came to me as how to feed my soul and helping other people. Because then that refurbishes, my joy for my day job. They kind of swap energies that way. If this drains me, well, then I can fill myself up over here to put better energy back into my job. I just call it job instead of just my life's work. Those are the two different distinctions: my life's work and my job.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great distinction, because a lot of times we need a job in order to get us to our career or our life path. And I love that your blue moon manifestations is actually what fuels you and fills your cup in order to continue forward and getting to your regular day job so that you can continue doing this work. As you were saying that, I was thinking of the question of what do you do for self-care? Like, how do you balance that in? Like, that question within that. So that's amazing. Within saying that, what advice would you give to women or someone looking to start their own business who maybe does feel bogged down by their job and finding it hard to align their life?
Well, first I would say, find out if you need to get curious. If you don't know exactly what it is, then just try things that spark your interest. And even if, you try something like painting, that doesn't necessarily lead to a job, but it might put you in the position to find out what you can do as a job. So get curious to find out what will spark that joy. And if they already know what they want to do, it's really just deciding how committed you are to it and deciding what level you want it to take in your life. Like, do you want it to be specifically a side hustle? Then that's how you'll show up for it, and that's how it will show up for you. And if you want it, like I am, to eventually shift where I'm doing the majority of coaching and maybe consulting on the side and maybe eventually leaving that behind, then you just have to find out what balance works for you. Like, a lot of people don't get this, but I get up at 4 a.m. to do my blue moon manifestations things, like creating the posts and creating the, behind the scenes stuff. Then that opened up my weekends and evenings and times that I can schedule to work with clients, because that was my complaint. It's like, I don't have time to see people because I'm doing all this stuff. And I had to come to that realization, well, how much do you want this to grow? And how important is it to me? And so I get up at 4 and do the behind the scenes stuff. And then at 6, I start getting ready for my day job and live my life that way.
That is drive. Like, I tell you, when I hear the word 4 a.m., my entire body goes, no thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely part of the Scorpio in me. I really love sleep.
Yeah.
That's often my self-care. It's just being going for a nap. But I really that the passion behind what you're doing really speaks volumes, because, some people, they don't need a lot of sleep. And the fact that you're working in the field sometimes till 7, 8 o'clock, and I'm sure that you're probably not having clients after those days, but if you are, what amazing drive and commitment you have to really putting this forward. And I think a lot of people feel that no matter the type of job they get into, be it their own business and MML or multi-level kind of marketing thing, that they feel that it's just going to fall into their lap. And it's, no, you have to work for this. You really have to be dedicated and not allow that fear, for me it would be lack of sleep, to get in the way of your passion and what you're driving towards. And what a great way to live by example, and just by doing you and by
It's funny that you say commitment, because that's actually what the shift started. That's my word of the year for this year. And I have it on my desk right here. I'll take it on my wall. It says commitment. So it's how committed am I when I was doing the journaling to get this going? So if I'm committed to it, then I know I can use from 4 to 6 to do the work I need to and open up that space for clients. Because otherwise it would have continued showing up for me as a side job, as a side hustle, and not growing. And so, people, each individual person has to come to that, that decision, what role do you want to play in your life? And how committed are you to either maintaining it or growing it, if that's what you choose to do?
And all of it's okay. And
absolutely.
If you just want it to be a side hustle, that's fine. If you want it to be a hobby, that's fine. But no, I love that. It's so true, and I think that that's for me, because my mother did have a lot of pull, like your mom, into like what I kind of did within my life. My first 3 jobs were all because my mom like knew someone or something, and it's so hard to break that kind of tie, and then commit to yourself in order to see what you want going forward. So I see your story going like full circle there of the alignment, everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what beautiful gift, because I know for me, a fear of mine going and doing this work was the people that I was bringing along with me on this journey. Now, obviously had that chance to break free, but I think it's so beautiful that you said at the beginning, your father picked you up from the airport to bring you home.
Yeah.
And just knowing that that love surrounded you, no matter if you accomplished your goal or failed in your goal, you'd have that family love to bring you back home and to be like, it's okay, you're still you. You still. So I love it.
Yeah.
While we were talking, you did mention that you actually teach people how to come up with mantras. And I'd really love you to kind of like expand on that a little bit if you're able. And as well, share your mantra or affirmation with us.
Yeah, for sure. It is, it's a process. And I mean, you can find it in lots of places. So it's not like, I leave it strictly for coaching or anything, because it benefits everybody. And the overall process is, first of all, identifying negative beliefs that you have. And sometimes that takes some digging, to identify them, that either have been conditioned in you or that you've just developed yourself based on past experiences. And when I teach it, I give some very generic ones because I don't want to always, plant seeds in people's heads. But ones that are very, common also are, I'm not worthy, or I don't deserve that happiness, or I'm bad in relationships, or, just kind of those things that keep you stuck where you're at or where you've been. And for people that have difficulty coming up with them, I kind of say, well, tap into your alter egos. And only because they're very well known, I use Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll, will say, go for the moon. You can try this. You can do anything. Whereas Hyde is going to keep you in your box. It's going to like, oh no, it's too scary outside of this box. You don't need to try for that job. So kind of tap into those, find out what your limiting beliefs are, and write out, anywhere from 5 to 10. And then once you do, you like read them out loud to yourself, but slowly, and notice where in your body you feel that. Like, does your stomach get tight? When you say, I'm crappy with money, or I don't know how to manage money, or do you start to sweat, or do your hands get sweaty? Where do you feel that? And then circle the 3 that generated like the biggest response in your body. And that's the hard part. No one wants to do that part. It's not the fun part. But once you get to that point, then you take those 3 and you completely reframe them into a positive. So in mine, I don't remember the exact phrase because I don't even really think about them anymore. I don't think about the way I started out with the negative beliefs. But my mantra that I use anytime I need to, because once you've created it for yourself, you can obviously use it whenever, is I am confident, I am worthy, and I am free to be myself and speak my truth. Because I do remember that I felt like I couldn't say certain things in certain crowds, or couldn't, be myself with certain people because, oh, what if they don't like it? Or what if it offends them? So that's mine. And then the way I started incorporating it into my life when I first came up with it a little over a year ago was doing it in the morning with my coffee, putting that little bit of cinnamon in my coffee and for the fire, to give it some energy, and saying it as I stirred my coffee and then drank it. And I probably said it every day for at least 3 months. And so now I just tap into it whenever I need it, because then it became part of of my brain, of rewiring my brain to thinking that way. And that's why I love that, just that practice of creating your own affirmations, because there's great affirmations out there, but if they don't resonate with you, they're really not going to do any work. They're not going to, embed themselves in your brain if they don't resonate with you.
For sure.
Oh.
Hopefully Patty's comes back on. Sorry guys, our camera's just shut off for a minute. Hopefully you guys can still hear us. I'm gonna talk and see if Patty can reconnect. So
I'm
what
here.
Patty was talking about was her mantra and how it's really important for us to find our own mantras. That finding a mantra that someone else has made can be really great. However, finding a mantra that really speaks to us by creating it ourselves can help so much more. So I'll talk a little bit about my three mantras this month. I tend to go through my mantras on a lunar cycle. And usually the first mantra that I always come up with over the month is something that I really need to learn. I think Patti is joining us again with her camera. The mantra that I began this lunar cycle with is, hello, you're back. I just kept talking.
You know what? It was funny because when you came back on, I could see you, but you couldn't hear me anymore. So I had to relog back on. So.
I always am worried that, like, if I disconnect my connection, that it just ends the broadcast completely. So it happens. There's storms. Let's blame it on the full moon.
Absolutely.
I was just letting people know that I kind of have three mantras that I have adopted this lunar cycle. The first one came to me as take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that kind of just means when you need to rest, when you feel like working, work, but really listening and connecting into that kind of moon space and that intention and that intuition that I know I hold. So by taking it easy, I can drop down and listen better. The other one that I didn't make up that I have found is my life is beautiful and ready to accept all forms of abundance through bounty. And to me, that's where I'm feeling stuck is that worthiness of allowing what needs to come. And then to keep motivated, I have another mantra that says, I am a doer. Anything that I want, I can achieve. And
absolutely. Yay.
I love the fact, and I think next month or lunar cycle, I'm going to pay more attention, like you said, to actually feeling through my body of what this mantra needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
We are kind of coming up to the hour-ish mark. Let's get people to you. So, please share where people can find you, as well as events and your mailing list. Anything that really just promotes you and like puts you completely in the spotlight. Let's do that.
Awesome. So the best way to get a hold of me or to find me is on Facebook at Blue Moon Manifestations. It's the Facebook page. I do between 2 and 3 lives per week there about different topics and different ways of, aspects of personal development. I do have the Blue Moon Magic Tribe Facebook group, and there I have a coffee and coaching corner the 3rd Saturday of every month. And I do a post, it's a coffee cup, so you'll know which one it is, where people can put questions and then they can jump on live if they have the chance or the opportunity. And it's a group kind of like Q&A hot seat type situation, which I love the group because I want to kind of move into that, because the community is a great way, it's a great support system. And you realize that you're not the only one going through things a lot of times. And that's free, and it's every month on the 3rd Saturday of the month. And then I'm starting also in the group on the next, I don't have the date, but yes, I do, Saturday, May 4th, which will be the next new moon. I'm starting just a journaling challenge just to get people familiar with 5 different types of journaling practices, because if you're someone that wants to start journaling, it can be overwhelming to think, oh, I have to do this every day. Or if you're a journal junkie like I am, you're always looking for different ways to journal or different ways to incorporate that. So it's 5 different journaling techniques, and that's going to be just a 5-day, I call it a challenge, just to get people participating. And there'll be like a daily email with a journal type and a journal challenge or journal prompt, and then an interactive post in the group, and then a final live Q&A just to kind of share everyone's aha moments or takeaways or questions. And that will be starting on May 4th. So all the links for that I'll forward to you like we talked earlier, so people can find it.
Yeah, and I will create a post at the end of the day that everyone can just like click, and find you and like you. I have to attest that or say that Patty's lives are so amazing, and they're so real. The other day, I'm guessing you were working like your regular job, and she literally just pulled out her lunch and was like, "This is my lunch for the day." And I loved it because it's real.
Yeah.
And people get caught up with this this idea of what life on the road or life working and working 2 jobs kind of it looks like. And it can look very normal, and it can be very healthy. And I just love that you went live and were like, hey, I'm nourishing my body this way, and showing people that, you don't have to eat fast food and do all this. And it was very simple. Like, your lunch was very simple. And I was like, man, I need to step up my game.
Yeah, and I mean, I know which one you're talking about, because that wasn't the intent, but then when I was doing it, I'm like, well, yeah, I can show them my lunch, because some people are out and about and they're just stuck in getting the fast food all the time. And it's like, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be fancy, and it doesn't have to be extravagant or hard. And like you said, I just incorporate my business when I can on those days, and I work around it, because if it's important enough, I will find a way to bring it to people.
And I think I probably missed a bit of like the beginning of the live. I came in when you started. I loved it, and it really did resonate with me. And that is something that I struggle with on my day-to-day life. Like, even at home, being like, oh yeah, I have to eat. And
right.
I did. I really loved that you were just like, this is me, and this is why I'm going. Well, not why you're going live, but so, wow, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I had just such an amazing time connecting with you today, and a few of the comments that have actually popped up are, this is great information.
Awesome.
And you were talking about your affirmations. One of my girlfriends, Nicole, said amen. So this really does resonate with people, and
great.
You really are just such an authentic, vibrant soul that I am so grateful to have you like as part of my corner, and I'm so grateful that you decided to come live with me. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I had a great time.
You're very welcome. And ladies and other gems, if you would like to be a featured femme, please come on. Just message me and we will work out a time and date. As you can see, Patty had a great time. You'll have a great time. And I really want to feature you. So have a great day, everyone. Happy full moon and happy Easter if that's what we celebrate.